Listen, I know I'm late to the game, okay? I recorded this video before I took my hiatus from YouTube, and I'm aware that this isn't even fresh news anymore, but I still wanted to give my thoughts on the trailers. You all know by now that I'm not the kind of person to post a video for every single update on the show. There are others who do that well, and I'd rather focus on the updates I can really sink my teeth into. So have fun watching me overanalyze 5 seconds of footage and remember to stick around for more. Greetings, demigods, mortals, and monsters. Settle in, get some popcorn. It's time to talk about Season 2. Specifically, my predictions. As most of you probably know by now, Disney recently released a new teaser trailer for Season 2 of Percy Jackson and the Olympians, and we've all gone appropriately bonkers. It may be only 5 seconds long, but that's no excuse. Have you met Percy Jackson fans? There may not be a lot to work with here, but I still plan on dissecting what we're seeing on screen and some predictions for Season 2 of our fandom's beloved and occasionally hated adaptation. Okay, so what's all the fuss about? A short while ago, the Disney Plus YouTube channel released a video entitled Coming in 2025, showing tiny snippets of 12 of their shows and movies coming out next year, including PJO, of course. It is conveniently shown last, because Disney knows how to keep our attention.
All of this world, everything's changed.
We see Percy fighting Clarice on a beach, spectated by some buff guy with an axe, someone dressed as a war general, someone dressed as a sea captain, and this person. I can't tell who this is. Then there's Percy riding a small horse-drawn chariot with someone else whose face is too blurry to make out, though based on the book, it's probably either Annabeth or Tyson. The chariot features a trident and waves, representing Poseidon, of course, and Percy appears to be sword-fighting someone in another chariot decorated with a boar's head and a sword. The boar is sacred to multiple gods, but paired with the sword and what we know about the books, he's probably fighting with an Ares kid. Possibly Clarice, though her weapon of choice is a spear, and we see her using one in the other scene, whereas this camper is using a sword, so who knows? Next, we see Percy supposedly getting ready for this chariot race, dressed in battle armor and grabbing reins with a tense expression. Over this is a voiceover of Percy saying, "All of this world, everything's changed." There's also a little clip of Percy at the beginning of the video with a very worried look on his face, though the setting is unclear. Now, this isn't the first glimpse of Season 2 that we've seen. A few months ago, a teaser was made to mark the start of its production. It was just under a minute long and featured Percy explaining who he is, that both gods and monsters come after him, and that stopping a war last year was only the beginning of his journey. There is once again a clip of him preparing for the chariot race, alongside some close-up shots of the horses and the chariots. Lastly, a CGI animated clip of Camp Half-Blood's symbol in what is probably the form of a flag, looking tattered and burned around the edges as ocean waves come over it. This is probably referencing the destruction of Clarice's battleship in the book. The comments are not shy on pointing out how different Percy sounds compared to Season 1, but chill, people. Walker Scobell is not turning 30 tomorrow. He is 14 or maybe 15. He is an entirely realistic age to be playing a 13-year-old. Puberty affects everyone in dramatic ways one way or the other. It is not a big deal. It was always going to happen. There is no need to make him feel even more self-conscious about it. What's interesting about the new teaser is Percy and Clarice's fight scene, which wasn't in the book. Given the presence of the sea captain and war general, almost certainly members of Clarice's zombie army, this must be at some point after they embark on their quest. One of my guesses is that it happens after they get the fleece and before Clarice leaves with it. It seems like a realistic change to have them fight over who gets to take the fleece home before Percy ultimately decides to trust her, and the way he levels his sword at her, similar to how he did before fighting Ares, indicates a prepared nature to this battle. As in, they're not just fighting because they're hotheads and they're mad at each other, it's a legitimate duel. Maybe they've decided that the victor gets to take the fleece back to camp. The presence of a coastal town in the background seems to indicate that this is outside the Sea of Monsters, which is what makes me think that it's after they defeat Polyphemus and washed up on Miami. However, there's a good chance that this is also after the Charybdis and Scylla scene and before Circe's Island. If they don't get separated like they do in the book, and a few of Clarice's crew members survive, then the ensuing anger of losing their ship and Tyson could easily escalate into a battle. Perhaps they're fighting over who gets to lead the quest. The vessel's explosion would explain why there appears to be fire behind them. Conceivably, this scene is even right after the Hydra incident, which would explain both the fire as potential damage taken to the boat and the coastal town, because this is before they've entered the Sea of Monsters. I don't see what reason they would have to fight right after Clarice saves their asses, but it's Percy and Clarice. So, as small as these Season 2 glimpses are, I can see a good sign. Action. A popular criticism of Season 1 was the lack of action in this action-adventure series. I never commented on this in my reviews of Season 1, but the more I watch it, the more I notice how little action there is, and agree that it could definitely use more. I've seen the counter-arguments that A, the characters are still young and not very experienced, so it makes sense that the fight scenes would not be elaborate until the later seasons, i.e. Heroes of Olympus, and B, the fight scenes in the book aren't actually that long either. They just feel that way because of how they're described. And I hear you, but I don't agree. While there is some logic to making the battles more elaborate as the characters grow up, all of the fight scenes should still have enough action to be enjoyable and pump you up. And if you were to keep with this logic of basing the combat on the character's experience all the way into adapting Heroes of Olympus, you would end up with a situation where Percy, Annabeth, and Jason have these super badass epic fight scenes, Nico and Reina have pretty cool fight scenes, and everyone else's fight scenes are just which would inevitably throw over half of the 7 under the bus, something that I don't think any of us want to see. And as for the second argument, the point of a fight scene isn't to portray every little hit and slash and throw that happens. It's to make the reader feel the stress and danger and high energy that the characters are feeling. The same thing applies to this kind of sequence in TV format. Now let's move on to Percy's voiceovers. They are characteristically vague, which makes sense considering that we're still pretty early in the game. Percy says that everything's changed, probably referencing how much camp has changed since the poisoning of Thalia's tree. But you can hear a lot of emotion in his voice, so who is he saying this to, and why? What is the context of this line? I have no clue. Moving on. In the first teaser, Percy mentions how both monsters and the gods target him, and I love this framing. In my season 1 review, I highlighted the importance of portraying the gods as horrible, because it comes into play in future seasons and forces Percy to pose some interesting moral questions about the status quo and how desperately it needs to change, which is part of why Percy Jackson is so important. But also because my brain just thinks authority bad, and I want to see Percy destroy some representations of authority again. Zeus probably won't appear in this season, but Bersacius Jackson will find a way. There's always someone to insult. Hi, this is me editing the video. I know that aged poorly, and we got a new actor for Zeus, and we'll probably see him in season 2. Shut up. This feels like a good time to summarize the D23 Disney Plus panel in Brazil, which came out in a YouTube video only a few days before the trailer, and features Rick Riordan, Walker Scobell, Leah Jeffries, and Ariane Simhadri answering some questions for both seasons. Scobell mentions the Scylla and Charybdis scene, one of his personal favorites from the book, and mentions how huge it is in the adaptation. Jeffries mentions that Luke and Clarice's actors are both on set for longer, so we'll of course be seeing more of their characters this season, just like in the book. The young actors get a chance to show off some props, namely Annabeth's dagger, a longer riptide, and Grover's panpipes, which were not in season 1. This is all in front of a miniature model of the chariot racing arena, in a set that Riordan and Scobell have both confirmed is the big house. From the thought and detail that's being put into the chariot race to the mention of Scylla and Charybdis, this 10-minute video gives 2 more hints that we'll be seeing more action this season. Even Grover's panpipes could support this, since he does in fact use them to help in battle. Am I looking into this too much? Probably. But I still feel fairly confident in saying that the battles will be more epic this time around. Riordan has mentioned on his website that he finds this season better, bigger, funnier, faster, and wilder than its predecessor. And for what it's worth, I remember seeing an interview with the cast where Leah Jeffries mentions learning a lot of new stunts for the coming season. I can't find that interview and won't go looking for it because we would be here forever, but suffice it to say, season 2 is looking good so far. Some season 2 cast members have also been announced, though it isn't exactly ripe news. Daniel Dimer will be playing Tyson, Tamara Smart will be playing Thalia, and Andra Day will be playing Athena. Welcome aboard. I hope you all enjoy the journey. Now this of course indicates that Athena will be in season 2. The goddess has a small cameo appearance in the original book in the siren scene, when Annabeth is swimming towards images of her parents back together and Luke and Thalia welcoming her with open arms. However, I doubt Disney would take the time to cast someone to play Athena right now if this was her only appearance of the season. So it's likely that we'll get to see more of her dynamic with Annabeth play out. This is definitely one of the plus sides of telling the story in TV format and being able to shift points of view seamlessly. Athena's first actual appearance in the books is in what would be season 3, when she tells Percy that she doesn't approve of his closeness to her daughter. But excluding Heroes of Olympus, we never actually get to see Annabeth and Athena interact face to face, except at the very end of the 5th book. It's implied throughout Percy Jackson and the Olympians that Athena is a little bit proud of Annabeth and her strengths in a very emotionally detached way and wants her to keep progressing like that. It's only after Annabeth saves the world and suffers a truly ridiculous culmination of her life's trauma in the process that Athena finally goes, yeah, you did good, kiddo. How would you like to redesign Olympus? And this emotional detachment could make their conversations very interesting to watch, especially considering what season 1 reveals about Athena's slightly excessive responses to her kids not worshipping her relentlessly. Or maybe they'll make her more touchy-feely like they did with Percy and Poseidon. Here's to hoping that doesn't happen. And I don't think it will because they already established the character as cold and distant. I mentioned in my season 1 review that Poseidon and Hermes are too soft in the adaptation, and I think they need to let the series' godly parents, and the parents in general, be as awful as their book counterparts. Since it looks like Athena will be a step in that direction, I approve so far. This is pretty much all we know about season 2, but there's always more to wonder about. I personally am am praying that they're going to include my two favorite scenes, the Sirens and Cersei's Island, and I'm wondering what changes we'll see. If it's anything like season 1, there will be differences, for better or for worse, though honestly, I don't know how you can tell what we got in the book. P.S. I know I'm not the only one hoping for a Rhaena and Hyla cameo on Cersei's Island. In season 1, we got a few references to Bianca and Nico, both the obvious and the slightly inobvious moment in the Lotus Hotel, when you can hear a small child yelling the name Bianca in the background.
In the world. Seems like
they were able to include these Easter eggs without casting the actors, which makes good sense and gives me hope that we'll see something similar for the Ramirez-Arellano sisters next season. Keep your fingers crossed, demigods. And let me know what part of season 2 you're looking forward to in the comments. I hope you got your dose of pumped up fan excitement for the day, and with that, I'll see you in 2 weeks. Good to be back. Whew, yeah, we're back at it. How we doing? Good, good. Did you miss me? Didn't think so. Bye for now.